This story is incomplete. And as such, it's left as a series of fragments and experiences of the past, of the present, of the future. A catalogue of words and thoughts that could not have existed before now. Because this story is the result of a collision of time and place and circumstance, and its reach stretches past us, past me. This is a documentary. It's an unfolding mystery. It's a love story of sorts. It's an apology. It's a thank you. It's a consequence of chance. This story is unapologetically romantic. It's hurtful and it's positive, and it's all too aware that at times it takes itself far too seriously. But it is serious. And beyond the beauty of hyperbole, this story is not about what happened, or how it happened, or even why it happened. No, the story is about the possibilities of what can happen next. And I'm speaking words for you that I have written before now. To let you know that this story is not traditional. It does not keep in line. It does not play normal. It does not follow the rules. I wanted to let you know from the start that this story is not set. Not its characters, not its time, not its place. I wanted to let you know from the start that this story does not have an ending. And it will continue once you've gone. That what happens after this is probably the most exciting thing you'll see. I wanted to let you know from the start that this story is impossible. But for now, this story starts with a catalogue of words and thoughts, with me stood here speaking to you from an empty theatre, with a reel of 6 shirts just waiting, with a microphone and a table and an old black typewriter.
To us. There are too many things that I want to say. And I'm sorry that I won't get to say them all. But I hope that by now, you know. I hope by now I don't actually need to say anything. I hope by now words are unnecessary. The idea of you was born in the year 2019. Storm clouds were brewing over England and the future was uncertain. Nothing seemed real. Everything felt imaginary, fake, distant. We were told stories. We were told stories of people detonating bombs strapped to their chests, of the polarised political landscape over Brexit, of people being attacked on buses for their sexuality. We were told stories about riots across the globe, about the changing climate, about hurricanes and cyclones and monsoons and typhoons, about countries flooding whilst others burned. We were told stories about 11 billion tonnes of ice melting in Greenland in one day, about 434 mass shootings across America, about 1,000 refugees dying in the Mediterranean Sea for the 6th year in a row. But amongst all of these stories, all of this unrest, all of this suffering, all of this stupidity, something unimaginable, unbelievable, impossible. Our story was beginning.
Now then, welcome. Thank you for watching. This is quite a big deal for me. There's a lot that could go wrong. But that's all right. As I said to my counsellor, I'm quite good at compartmentalising things. Just kind of put it in a box, see what happens, and we'll take it from there. I don't have any expectations. How could I? This was never supposed to happen like this. There's hurt, of course, but no set expectations. So don't worry if things don't work out. Don't worry if things don't go to plan. It's okay. And whatever happens, we'll get through it together. Me and you. Us. I mean, statistically speaking, there's only about a 33.3% chance of it being successful anyway, so... Sorry, that's not for now. It's for later. Much later. For when it... if it... We don't need to think about that here. What I meant was, the likelihood is that something will go wrong. We just need to be aware. We just need to be prepared.
There was a small change in the law, an insertion, some new words, nothing particularly unusual. That by itself is not what makes our story impossible. It happens all of the time. A continuous catalogue of amendments, acts and appeals. Just one more signature on yet another piece of paper. I'd never really paid that much attention to it before. It didn't matter. I didn't choose to know. It didn't affect me. Because at that point there was no us. But in 2019, something shifted. One small piece of legislation. And for the first time, I allowed myself to imagine who you were and who I could become.
The recipient of this letter is not alive. He or she has not been born. I don't know who they are. I've never met them. They don't exist. Yet. For now, they are but a figment of my imagination. A plan in motion. Just a possibility. I can't pinpoint pinpoint the exact moment that I realised I wanted to have children. I think maybe I just always put it to the back of my mind. Because I was single. Because I was gay. I mean, there are two pretty big barriers to traditional conception. I don't think I ever really gave it that much thought. Maybe I just presumed that I couldn't even. Must keep in line. Must play normal. Must follow the rules. I knew what those rules were. I spent enough of my childhood pretending to follow them. I think I convinced myself at about 14 that the world was just some kind of game that I was playing without realising. And all I had to do to win was just accept that I was gay. Just say the words out loud. I've got this one specific memory of walking down Church Lane in Thorngunwald, Hull, around 1997. Past sisters' cottages, past the brand new purse box, and the shops on my right would have been a fruit shop and Tate's. Both are gone now. I'm about to turn left onto St Martin's Road, past the two huge trees in Mr and Mrs Smith's on the corner. And I remember thinking to myself, if I could just say the words "I'm gay" out loud, I would win and the world would stop. And strangers would run towards me and congratulate me and applaud me. And bells would ring and confetti would fall from the sky and everything would be okay. I didn't, wouldn't, couldn't even. Must keep in line. Must play normal. Must follow the rules. And the world just carried on. And I carried on. The perfect time. Every step in place. Rehearsed. Every movement in line with the image that was projected for me. Trying my best to make it all seem real. And then, when I did eventually step out of line, of course, strangers didn't run to congratulate me, bells didn't ring, and confetti didn't fall from the sky, but in a way the world did stop. Because I left the game behind. And because I was no longer playing by its rules, I was able to rewrite what was possible. We are never surrounded by ordinary objects. They all have meaning. Every single one. Meaning beyond meaning. Meaning that we have woven into the very fabric of their being, regardless of their appearance or intention or use. Meaning that has been layered and textured with our own personal histories. And so, this is not just an old black typewriter. Maybe it's a prop from a show in 2008 called Losing, that explored the fragility and transience of memory. And maybe this is not just a box. Maybe this box that currently holds an unread letter to me once held an antique camera, a 30th birthday present. And maybe this is not just a sheet of paper. Maybe It's Section 54 of the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Act 2008, which came into force in 2010 and permitted same-sex and unmarried couples to apply for parental orders, leaving children born to single parents in legal limbo. That is, until its meaning was also changed when a remedial order came into effect on the 3rd of January 2019. And on the 3rd of January 2019, I was on my way home from a week away with friends, oblivious. I'd left the New Year's cottage early. The 7 adults and 3 children still amongst the noise and the energy and the warmth. I'd been somewhere in between Carlisle and Manchester. Music on loud, the car boot full of Christmas presents and luggage and unused wrapping paper. It'd been snowing, so the countryside was glistening. It was on the 3rd of January 2019, and I was driving home without knowing what was happening somewhere else, or the impact that it could have, or the impact that it would have.
The impossible story continues with a close-up of a child's drawing. It's a generic drawing, typical. The same colours, shapes and strokes that we've all seen before. Square house with oversized windows and giant people. Green grass and multicoloured flowers with a sweeping garden path. Smoke from the chimney. Blue skies, white fluffy clouds, and a circular sun with triangular heat rays. And it's March 2005, Pizza Hut, Didsbury. 14 years before the change in law. It's the first time that I meet Ashley. Same shift. He's working front of house, she's a delivery driver. He's clearing away the salad bar and the spoons are dripping in sauces. One of them, blue cheese. Ashley's on the potlatch. And they've not really spoken that much before, so he doesn't know why, but he waves one of the spoons in front of her mouth and says, "Taste that." She does. She hates blue cheese. A pause. A grimace. An impact. A collision that, almost 15 years later, leads to something quite remarkable. Cut to December 2017. Slug and Lettuce, Albert Square, Manchester. 2 years before the change in law. There are 5 of them that have kept in touch since Pizza Hut. Years of birthdays and weddings and holidays, nights in and nights out. Amongst the 2-for-1 cocktails and Christmas songs, Ashley is telling them that she tried to donate some of her eggs to an IVF clinic, but was unable to. There's general intrigue and questions. She says that she wants to do something for someone else because she's got her family already. A thought, just a small one. Absurd. Impossible. Cut to March 2019, Chatham, Manchester, 86 days after the change in law. They're at Ashley's house. A hot tub party for her birthday. Garlic bread and Prosecco and hummus dips. Amy's there and she's pregnant through IVF, and the conversation turns to surrogacy. Jokes lead to comments, lead to questions. He tries to not ask anything too specific. He doesn't dare ask anything too leading, just in case. and is lost in his thoughts. More gin, less tonic. A hope. Just a possibility.
This is a story of an undisclosed man. He is a stranger. This is Carlos. Hola. Carlos's name has been changed for anonymity purposes. And we've never actually met face to face, but we have spoken online. Carlos is 36, single, from Spain, 7 years in England, and still the same dream of a huge family. That dream first became problematic when he realised that he was gay at 17. Surrogacy is illegal in Spain. After the financial crisis of 2006, he moved to the UK to improve his English, thinking that eventually he'd go to America or Canada. But he grew to really like it here. He settled. But he kept returning to the idea of one day becoming a father, with or without a partner. He did lots of research into traditional surrogacy, what was legal, what was not. There was so much information. It felt impossible as a single man. But then the law changed. And now he is currently in the last stages of relocating. He thinks that London is too expensive to start a family, but is really keen on beginning the surrogacy process. A hope, just a possibility. And finally, after all these years, he's hearing people talk about doing something that he has wanted to do his whole life.
In 2010, the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Act extended the parental order from married couples to include unmarried and same-sex couples. Amazing. But single parents still remain excluded. An amendment was drafted and tabled, but it was never pursued. It became clear that the government didn't really support it anyway. The idea that there was a man out there that wanted to have a child by himself just didn't seem real. The government said, surrogacy is such a sensitive issue, fraught with potential complications. Limiting the parental order to married couples demonstrates the magnitude of a situation of which a person becomes pregnant with the express interest of handing the child over to someone else, and the responsibility that that places on the people receiving the child. There is an argument that this government has acknowledged in the bill that such a responsibility is likely to be better handled by a couple than a single man or woman. Now, the lack of a parental order didn't stop single people from having children through surrogacy. Many would just travel abroad to find a surrogate, but it did limit the recognition of their families. Without parental responsibility, they weren't legally in control of naming, or education, or discipline, or medical treatment. Ultimately, it was the surrogate that remained the child's legal parent.
You are around 5 or 6, and we're at home. It's a Sunday. We've been for a walk, but the heavens opened and we got drenched. Slowly, over the years, the fireplace has been changed and the decor has been refreshed, but it's still recognisable. It's still familiar. The fire is on and we're sitting next to each other on the living room carpet. Our socks are hanging, drying. I've just been spinning you around, hands held, feet in the air, your body horizontal. You were an astronaut on a rocket with 0 gravity, and you wanted to go again and again, but I got dizzy. We've got Land of the Giants on the television, and all around us are little pieces of Lego. You're making the most brilliant things, but I don't know what they are. I guess, but I'm always wrong. I help, we build, and the time just slowly passes by like that. Me and you. Us. Together.
The impossible story continues with a close-up of a child's drawing. It's a generic drawing, typical. The same colours, shapes and strokes that we've all seen before. It's on the back of an electricity bill, or on a lined sheet of paper ripped from a spiral pad, or across the inside of an empty cereal box. And it's the 17th of May 2019, Manchester Fertility, Cheadle, 134 days after the change in law. Ashley has arrived there first. He's driving from work, but the traffic is horrific. He's sweating and panicked and worried that they're going to cancel the appointment. They don't. They're taken into a small room, white, neat, minimal. It feels constructed but friendly. They're informed that theirs is the first case of single-parent surrogacy at the clinic. In the area, in the county, maybe in the north, maybe even more. And there's a general sense of uncertainty about the whole process, about how different it would be. Normally, 6 months until a transfer. But it feels straightforward. And you can't help imagining the 6 fertilised embryos just waiting. He tries to let Ashley know that he definitely wants to go ahead without it feeling like he's pressurising her into it. And she's so good. She raises all the questions that he wants to ask. She takes the lead. She makes it feel comfortable. She makes it feel possible. Cut to 24th of May 2019. Ellen Mitchell Solicitors, St Peter's Square, Manchester, 141 days after the change in law. He's in a glass boardroom. The walls have a strange design that makes it really hard to focus. Oranges against reds. The solicitor is talking about the fact that upon giving birth, Ashley and her husband will be the child's legal parents. That he isn't allowed to pay them, but he's allowed to give them some money towards expenses. It's all things that he's heard before. There's nothing really new. Until she asks him if he's considered what should happen if Ashley gets pregnant and he dies before the birth. No, he's not thought about that. Cut to 28th of May 2019. Broadbottom, Tameside, 145 days after the change in law. He's at home. The solicitor has sent an email to the clinic and a woman named Alice is on the telephone. They can continue with the surrogacy, but he needs to have an initial consultation with the counsellor. It's the first of many things that will fall out of line with the schedule that they'd initially discussed. His process will be different, but it has started.
I feel like I know you a little bit already. Not just the regular generic bits. Not just your baby laugh, or your chubby feet, or your curls of hair. But you, the individual, or at least the connection that we share. You and me. Us. Together. I wonder if you'll have the same blue eyes as me, or the same ideology, or the same mole on the inside of your third toe on your right foot. I imagine you running ahead of me in the street, or your shadow on the wall next to mine as we watch a late night film, or your name flashing up on my mobile phone when you ring me. I think about your face and your smile. And I hope that you know that you are completely and undeniably wanted. And I'm sorry for what you've missed already, all of the things that I've done without you, that it's taken this long to get us here. But I want you to know that I'm ready. I want you to know that I'm ready to be more than just me.
Maybe that black and white checked shirt is not just a shirt. Maybe it's a costume from a shirt. In 2017, called Now. Maybe I bought my nephew an identical one for the promotional video. That's 3 years ago now, so he's grown out of it. But the other week we went out for tea and I noticed that his younger brother was wearing it. And there was this lovely sense of repetition, an echo, a remnant, a reminder.
You are around 9 or 10 years old, and we're out for the day at Brimham Rocks. Open skies, a blueness that travels down to the ground, crisp air. There's a vast number of rocks all across the horizon. You're smiling and playing, and I'm walking beside you, and you're laughing and running, and I'm telling you to be careful. I trust you to be careful. But then I see you jump across from one rock to another. The second rock is considerably lower. And I run forward because I realise that you're not going to be able to jump back up. All of the other rocks around you are too high. And you're trapped on this rock. You don't say anything, but the look on your face when you realise what you've done. You're not scared, just still, unsure, not moving, holding on, just in case the world shifted.
Maybe this isn't just a table. Maybe it's my desk, from the room facing the window to the garden. Maybe I've moved it out because at some point, hopefully, the room won't be my study anymore. At some point, hopefully, I'll need the room for something else, for someone else. And at some point I will use the table for a different purpose. And its meaning will change, and its original use just somehow won't seem real. Where was I? In 2016, the government conceded to the threats of a court case. And the president of the family division made a declaration of incompatibility, stating that the current UK surrogacy law discriminated against single parents and their children, and was therefore in breach of human rights principles. On the 14th of December, the same year, the government announced a change in law to allow for single parents to apply for parental orders. And on the 14th of December, 2016, I was in Romania, oblivious. I'd taken a group of students across to Iași for a cultural exchange of performance. We were halfway through the week, had delivered a series of workshops to some keen, bright, energetic young school children who were competing for our attention and our affection. I remember it clearly. It was a Wednesday. And in the evening, we'd gone ice skating by the Palace of Culture. It was dark, except for the lights on the rink, and English Christmas songs were playing. And we were all together on the ice. And somehow, everything seemed to slow down or pause. And it started to snow. On the 14th of December 2016, I was ice skating in Romania, with no idea what was happening somewhere else, or the impact that it could have, or the impact that it would have.
The impossible story continues with a close-up of a child's drawing. It's a generic drawing, typical. The same colours, shapes and strokes that we've all seen before. Except this one's got some paint splatter on the bottom right-hand corner. But regardless, it's pinned in place against a fridge with a series of colourful magnetic letters. And it's the 21st of June, 2019. Manchester Fertility, Cheadle. 5 months after the change in law. He's with a counsellor who is lovely. They're in a room with green potted plants. And they're discussing a whole heap of initial things. Why he wants to have children. Why Ashley's agreed to be a surrogate. Why there's only a 33.3% chance of a live birth. He's telling her that he's very good at compartmentalising things. Just kind of puts it in a box, see what happens, and he'll take it from there. She's surprised that he doesn't have much more information about his process. Writes something down, makes a few notes, confesses that she's not entirely sure why he's seeing her first. She tells him that his case will need to be put in front of a panel on the 4th of July. And he wants to know whether this is a judgment of whether he can continue with surrogacy. She says it isn't, but it feels like it is. He's not sure what else it would be for. Cut to 5th of July 2019, Broadbottom, Tameside, 6 months after the change in law. He's at home, and Alice from the clinic is on the telephone to let him know that his case has been passed through the panel without issue. Cut to 23rd of August 2019, Manchester Fertility, Cheadle, 7 months after the change in law. He's at the clinic for sperm sampling. A complete and unequivocal embarrassment. He's met at the front by a woman in green who takes him down to the labs, 2 rooms facing each other, and he's guided into the one on the right. Inside there's a chair, covered in plastic, leant back, TV screen on the wall, a sink and a little pot with his name and date of birth on, and a latched door in the wall. She's explaining that he needs to wash his hands and his genitalia, provide a full sample in the pot, put the pot on the ledge inside the latched door, and ring the doorbell to the lab once he's finished. She leaves. He locks the door. And he's about to wash his hands when he notices the magazines in the corner. They're not for him. So he checks the TV. There's over 20 films, none of which are appropriate. Starts to feel hot, embarrassed, out of place. Considers whether he should just make do. Keep in mind. Play normal. Follow the rules. But he doesn't. He leaves the room and he knocks on the small glass window to the labs and he tries to explain the situation. The andrologist doesn't seem to think there's that much of an issue. I should be able to find another magazine, and leaves him in the room, cheeks flushed but feeling in control. When she comes back, she scoops up the magazines and leaves a replacement on the side, but he doesn't open it, doesn't even touch it. Doesn't need to, doesn't want to. Because in that moment, he finally feels like he's won again. So, I mentioned earlier that there is an unopened and unread letter to me inside this box. It's a joint letter from my mum and dad. I asked them for some advice based on their experiences of being parents. What I should do, what I shouldn't do, what I need to know, what I need to change. 200 or so words specifically written for this. Specifically written for now. From them to me. I don't know what's in this letter. I don't know what it contains. I don't know what words they have chosen. This is the first time that I have read it. Dear son, our advice we can give you as you venture on your most challenging and rewarding venture of your life. Becoming a parent and holding your newborn baby in your arms, no one can describe how this overwhelming feeling of love overcomes, and that at that point your whole life changes forever. Your baby is totally dependent on you. There will be times you will feel utterly exhausted and thinking that you can't do it. But this is all normal. Reach out for all the help that is offered. Sleep when baby sleeps. Don't worry about other things that you need to do. That will eventually all become part of your routine. The most important job you have now is to nurture this little bundle of joy, to show him or her love. The best way in doing this is to spend time with them and listen to what they are asking. To have play times, as this is helping them to create memories. You don't have to spend money all the time on things. The simple things matter. The most important thing to teach from an early age is manners and respect. Children are very selfish, and they will always be trying to push the boundaries. This is when patience and understanding comes in, and also discipline along with routine. There is no rule book, and every parent finds a way which is best for them. A lot of things just come naturally, so just trust your instincts. This will be the most rewarding venture you have ever done, and it never ends. The road will carry on and on as your family grows. And always remember, son, we are here as we always have been, every step of the way. Lots of love, Mum and Dad.
You are around 2 or 3. We're in our local shop, amongst the tills and the customers and the instrumental music. It's warm and familiar. You're walking at my side and I've just caught myself lifting my feet off the ground as I lean on the trolley as it moves. I do it automatically, but realise that it's not something I want you to see and copy. That I need to behave differently now. I'm smiling at the people around me as I turn to grab a couple of tins of beans. And then, without me seeing, you stand on the side of the trolley and tip it over. And there's a sharp corner, and I catch you as you fall, but the trolley cuts your eye and there's blood all over. You're screaming, and I feel sick, and I'm panicking, and I think that you've lost your eye. And I'm reminded about how much you need me. I'm reminded that this isn't just about me anymore. I'm reminded that there is someone more important than myself. We go to the hospital and you need stitches, but everything's okay, and you're all right. You just always have a little scar above your right eye. A remnant. A reminder.
The impossible story continues with a close-up of a child's drawing. It's a generic drawing, typical. The same colours, shapes and strokes that we've all seen before, except this one is special. This one is miraculous. This one is a work of art. And it's the 30th of August, 2019. Manchester fertility, Cheadle. 7 months after the change in law. He's at a clinic for a full day of meetings and tests and appointments. The counsellor doesn't seem to remember that much about their initial consultation and is surprised by how much they've discussed. She's talking about terminations and testing for illness and disability and the importance of a will and life insurance and how him and Ashley need to create an agreement. He feels like she thinks he's just trying to say the right things. The things that she thinks he thinks she wants him to say, but he's not. He doesn't have any expectations. How could he? This was never supposed to happen like this. There's hope, of course, but no set expectations. After about an hour, she seems satisfied. Ashley and her husband are in the waiting area. They look well, smiling, and he's got this overwhelming sense of gratitude for them just being there. Ashley's having a scan, and the doctor is shaking his hand. Family trees and medical histories and births and deaths. His sperm is healthy, and they're looking for an Easter donation. The doctor is talking about the change in law, how he is the first client, and he describes them as pioneers. Cut to 16th of July, 2020. Manchester fertility, Cheadle. 18 months after the change in law. There has been a pause. A period of national waiting. But he's back at the clinic for more tests and more samples and 3 months of quarantine, during which time he'll select an egg donor. And then, on the 19th of October, they'll unfreeze his sperm, fertilise the eggs, and create 6 embryos, just waiting for a transfer in November 2020. And as he's leaving the clinic and walking back to the car, the air is still and the sky is bright blue, and for the first time he allows a little bit of the box to open. And suddenly, everything seems real. Where was I?
I can't wait to know you, to watch you grow, to see you outside of my imagination. I can't wait for the things that we'll do together. I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait for us. And whatever happens in the meantime, between now and then, whatever storm clouds brew over England, over the world. Know that you were loved before you were anything more than just a small, hopeful idea. And to imagine that this story unfolds in any way without you being a central part of it is just impossible. From me.
This is the story of an undisclosed man. He is a stranger. This is Adam. Hello. Adam's name has been changed for anonymity purposes. And we've never actually met face to face, but we have spoken online. Adam is 42, single, from England. 2 children, birth through surrogacy, prior to Section 54A. And so, when they were born, in the eyes of the law, Adam was not their father. Officially, and according to their birth certificates, they were the children of the surrogate and her husband. The law was clear. Even though Adam was their biological father, no rights and no legal say in their upbringing. But then, after the legal challenge in 2019, Adam applied for parental orders. His retrospective application, in essence, rewrote the meaning of his children's birth certificates, and he became their father. No secrets, no inferiority. The change in law closed a chapter on Adam's journey. And as a legal parent, he was able to make decisions without consideration or consequence or reproach. No longer a her, more than just a possibility.
The impossible story pauses here. And the egg donor has been selected, and everything is just waiting. And I'm standing here speaking to you from an empty theatre with a reel of 6 shirts and a microphone and a table and an old black typewriter. In between those who have gone before and those who are yet to make it happen. Between Adam and Carlos. Because this story is incomplete. And as such, it's left as a selection of fragments and experiences of the past, of the present, of the future. What happens next is the most exciting thing about what you've seen. Because getting stuck at Brimham Rocks or Sundays in by the fire or the tipping of a shopping trolley, they're not born from my imagination. They're born from my memories. The child in those stories is me. Because that's all I can do for now. Just remember. And I will remember more one day. After 16 years of us and 54 years of me. In 2037. Just an ordinary day. I don't know where we'll be or what we'll be doing, but it'll feel warm and it'll feel safe. And the walls may have changed colour, but something about it will remain the same. We'll be surrounded by our achievements and your childhood drawings, square houses and oversized windows. And I know it's the right time because I'll look at you and I'll realise that every single decision I've ever made has led me to this point, to this connection. Outside of all the rules. And right now, here, I don't know what that means or what that feels like. And I can't even contemplate it other than remember what it felt like to be on the other side of it. On the other side of that awareness. that familiarity. A familiarity and a love that feels so impenetrable, so incredible, so completely impossible. I'm going to just share a memory about walking in the rain or me swinging you around by your arms like an astronaut, and I'll hand you an envelope. And together we'll read a letter. A letter from before now. A letter that documents the time when the world shifted from me to us. It took until November 2018 for the government to create an appropriate draft that was approved by the Joint Committee on Human Rights. It was scheduled for debate by the House of Commons and House of Lords before it was signed off by a minister just before Christmas. It came into effect 14 days later as Section 54A on the 3rd of January 2019. And on the 3rd of January 2019, I was in my car, driving home, making plans, without any idea of the importance of the day, without marking it in any form of celebration. I get home, the house is freezing, the plants are limp with thirst, there's a pile of envelopes on the doormat, bank statements and electricity bills and Christmas cards. It's a new year, and I am oblivious. But somewhere, a group of remarkable people are raising a glass to Section 54A of the Human Fertilisation Embryology Act, because now single biological parents of children born through surrogacy are able to apply for a parental order, to obtain an appropriate birth certificate, to have access to surrogacy leave and pay, and to finally authenticate their parenthood. And so, on the 3rd of January 2019, the seeds are sown, without me even realising, for this impossible story to grow.